Real estate could be the key to getting trillions of dollars onto the XRP system. This is a good clip from Armando. I want to talk about what he's saying and give you some more background. The rise of RLUSD is being talked about in some very important places. RLUSD is, of course, in the top 100. This movie has a lot more news and information about Ripple and XRP, but let's start here. Now, everyone talks about XRP going to $1,000 or $10,000 because it might replace SWIFT. This is not being talked about by anyone. Pay attention to this. 370,000 property records in New Jersey are already on blockchain. Cities are already doing this. That makes me think, holy crap, this is already happening, and it's happening fast, because the government usually does the most recent things last. The assets worth $10 trillion are now being tokenized by BlackRock. This isn't a Web 0.3 trend. This is the building blocks. We just used an NFT to sell a house in Texas to 38 different people. What did they do? This group took a $235,000 house in McAllen, Texas, and turned it into coins. Then 30 backers gave them $246,000. There are no weirdos here. 15 of them have never used crypto before. To buy in, they made their first handbag. They now get WDC every week as rent, and they can quickly sell their shares on any site they choose. If you don't understand what's going on, when you bring real estate, you can tokenize it and bring it to the blockchain. You can cut that into as many pieces as you want after you do that. When someone buys a house, whether it's by themselves or with a partner, a business usually has to come up with a down payment, the financing, and all of that other stuff through blockchain solutions. We can let 10, 20, or even 50 people come in instead of just one. It doesn't matter. You can separate that and bring in buyers who might not have enough money to buy their own home, but do have enough money to buy a piece of a house. And this is how people will be able to get rich and get access to trillions of dollars worth of assets that can't be sold right away around the world. A lot of money is spent on real estate. If we can get more than one group of people to help buy and sell real estate, that could be good for the market. That gets a boost. The fact that most people want to make money even when they're young is something that comes into play. You no longer need to be a millionaire. That's pretty cool. All you need is a wallet and a phone, which we all have. Right now, real estate is by far the biggest asset class in the world, but that's not true anymore. And XRP could be the key to value worth trillions of dollars. Buying a house these days is slow, expensive, and not very useful. Each country and state has its own set of rules. Paperwork is very hard to move around. Then blockchain changes that by tokenizing real-world assets. Title papers are now being added to XRP's ledger in Dubai. You could trade real estate like stocks, send it instantly around the world, or buy a beloved building's part. By 2030, that market will be worth $16 trillion. Ripple is already working with banks, regulators, and states to make this happen. XRP is turning into a bridge that lets real estate be bought and sold around the world. What do you guys think? Okay, this is a great clip, but he left out some important details that I need to explain in more detail here. So Ripple has teamed up with a number of banks, governments, and real estate tech companies to tokenize real estate on the XRP ledger. Dubai's land department is the most well-known example of this, as it is actively giving proper digital property title deeds on the XRP ledger. That's a big change. Something doesn't have value when you only have the rights to it. It only means ownership, right? That doesn't have any value then. In this case, what we're missing is that part of what he's talking about. Tokenization and deed mostly add ownership records to the chain, but they don't immediately add things with a higher market value like mortgages or assets. In other words, someone may have their title and paperwork on chain, but that doesn't mean that the value of their debt or the home itself will also be on chain, which is what we're aiming for here, having all of this value shown. When you sell the house, not only does the property change hands, but so does its value. That's the point we want to make here. It is not automatically shown. So how deeply the tokenization goes into the property's financial economy will have a direct effect on the price of XRP. Because this is something that everyone who has XRP needs to fully understand. This is a great video clip that I could play and teach you about it. It says that the partnership between Ripple and the Dubai Land Department is the most advanced public project focused on keeping and managing tokenized property deeds. Dubai properties are being fractionalized, which means that buyers from around the world can buy and own small pieces of real estate. In other words, letting everyone in. This infrastructure makes it safe to issue, store, and trade these deeds on the public XRP record. Projects are set up so that they can grow. Other partnerships around the world between Ripple and banks, asset managers, and governments are also setting themselves up to tokenize not only real estate titles, but also commodities, stocks, and other types of assets. That's the effect on the price of XRP, of deeds versus debt value. We need to talk about this. Only deeds. Putting only the property title on the XRP ledger makes trade and transparency better, but it doesn't have much of an effect on the price of XRP. There aren't many transactions for transferring titles, and most of the XRP that is used goes to paying for small network reserves or transaction fees. And the only thing that's really being shown here is the transaction fee that was paid to move that. Loans and the value of your things. The effect will be bigger if tokenization includes equity, debts, and the full value of a property, letting people buy, sell, borrow against, or pay for properties in or on the XRP ledger. This could mean that XRP has to be used as a payment or bridge asset, which would greatly increase network use and the demand for XRP. To keep the network stable, XRP would have to be locked. This means that XRP could be used to show how much a property is worth. If that XRP is locked to represent the value of that property, that's where the price rise would come from. Because the circulating stock is going down, we need to be able to lock XRP's value against something. It makes a network effect happen. This is the exact point we want to reach. A small amount of XRP must be locked up for each tokenized asset. When there are billions or trillions of tokenized assets, the XRP network locks up more, which makes it more useful and raises the price potential.